How much resolution do you really need for your phone camera? Hi everyone, welcome to my video blog where I talk about all things related to mobile photography. Today's topic is, how much resolution do you really need for your phone camera? You might have seen phone makers advertising their cameras with high megapixel counts, such as 50 MP, 100 MP, or even 200 MP. But what does that mean and how does it affect the quality of your photos? A megapixel, MP, is a count of the number of pixels in an image, where the mega prefix denotes a million. So an 8 MP smartphone camera contains a sensor with 8 million pixels. A 16 MP camera has 16 million pixels on its sensor, and so on. The more pixels you have, the more detail you can capture in your photos. However, that doesn't mean that higher resolution always equals better quality. There are other factors that influence the performance of your phone camera, such as pixel size, sensor size, aperture, and software processing. Pixel size refers to the physical size of each pixel on the camera sensor. It is measured in micrometers, μm, which are 1/1,000,000th of a meter. The Google Pixel 7's 50 megapixel primary camera sensor, for example, has a pixel size of 1.2 micrometers. Pixel size matters because the larger the pixels, the more light they can collect. More light means better performance in low light conditions and less noise in your photos. However, larger pixels also mean less resolution, since you can fit fewer of them on a given sensor. To overcome this trade-off, some phone cameras use a technique called pixel binning, which combines adjacent pixels into larger ones by sacrificing resolution. For example, the Samsung Galaxy S23 has a 50 megapixel primary camera with 1 micrometer pixels. However, binning groups of 4 pixels takes photos at 12.5 megapixels with artificially large 2 micrometers pixels, boosting low light performance. Sensor size is another important factor that affects the quality of your phone camera. It refers to the physical size of the camera sensor itself. A larger sensor has a larger surface area that collects more light, improving performance in dim settings. Bigger sensors can also accommodate more individual pixels without sacrificing light sensitivity. However, larger sensors also require larger lenses and more space inside the phone, which can make them bulky and expensive. That's why most phone cameras have small sensors compared to dedicated cameras. Aperture is another term you might have heard when talking about phone cameras. It refers to the opening in the lens that lets light through to the sensor. It is usually expressed as an F number, such as f1.8 or f2.0. The lower the F number, the wider the aperture and the more light it lets in. A wider aperture also creates a shallower depth of field, which means that only a small part of the image is in focus while the rest is blurred. This can create a nice bokeh effect for portraits and close-ups. However, a wider aperture also reduces the sharpness of the image and introduces optical distortions such as chromatic aberration and lens flare. A narrower aperture can produce sharper images with more depth of field, but it also requires more light or longer exposure times. Software processing is another crucial aspect of phone camera performance. It refers to how the phone uses algorithms and artificial intelligence to enhance and optimize the images captured by the hardware. Software processing can do things like adjust exposure, white balance, contrast, color saturation, noise reduction, dynamic range, and sharpening. It can also apply special effects such as HDR, high dynamic range, night mode, portrait mode, panorama mode, and more. Software processing can make a big difference in how your photos look and feel. Some phones use more aggressive processing than others, which can result in unrealistic or unnatural looking images. Some phones also give you more control over how much processing you want to apply or let you shoot in RAW format, which preserves all the original data from the sensor without any processing. So how much resolution do you really need for your phone camera? The answer depends on several factors: how you plan to use your photos, e.g., for social media sharing or printing, what kind of subjects you like to shoot, e.g., landscapes or portraits, what kind of lighting conditions you encounter, e.g., bright or dark, and what kind of style and preferences you have, e.g., realistic or artistic. There is no one-size-fits-all answer, but here are some general guidelines. If you mostly use your photos for online sharing or viewing on small screens, you don't need very high resolution. Anything between 8MP and 16MP should be enough for most purposes. You can also use pixel binning or digital zoom to reduce the resolution and improve the quality of your photos in low-light situations. If you want to print your photos or view them on large screens, you might want higher resolution. Anything between 16MP and 50MP should be enough for most purposes. You can also use optical zoom or crop your photos to get closer to your subject without losing much detail. If you want to have more creative freedom and flexibility with your photos, you might want to shoot in RAW format or use a phone that gives you more control over the processing. This way, you can edit your photos later using software tools such as Photoshop or Lightroom and fine-tune them to your liking. Ultimately, resolution is not the only thing that matters when it comes to phone camera quality. You also need to consider pixel size, sensor size, aperture, and software processing, as well as your own needs and preferences. The best camera phone for you is the one that suits your style and budget. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new about phone camera resolution. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more mobile photography tips and tricks. Thanks for watching and see you next time.